Today I am going to read you a story named Three Little Kittens. One morning, Mrs. Tabby Cat called her three little children, Mouser, Towser, and Pussy, and said, Mama will be very busy today as she must make a milk pudding and some mouse pie for tomorrow's dinner because Aunt Kitty is coming to visit us. So you must be good children and go to school. After school, you can play until supper time. But be careful and don't get into trouble or mischief. When you come home, if you have been good little kitten, I will give each of you a piece of mouse pie. Now run along to school. So Mouser, Towser, and Pussy started for school as happy as could be, for they were thinking of the mouse pie. They had not gone far before they heard a terrible growl, and as they looked to see what it was, they saw a fierce looking dog behind the fence in Jimmie Brown's yard. He was a strange dog that they had never seen before, and he looked so cross that they ran as fast as they could. But the fence was strong, so the dog could not get out to chase them. They had a terrible fright and were glad when they reached a place of safety. In school, Mouser, who still remembered the big dog that had frightened them so, and the nice mouse pie that their mother had promised them, went to the blackboard at recess time and wrote in large letters, Bad dog, nice mice. It made the other kittens laugh very much, and they all agreed with him that of all things, dogs are the worst and mice the best. In fact, they much preferred mice to ice cream. What do you think of that? They learned lots of useful things in school, such as catching mice and chasing birds, but principally singing, so that when they grow up, they could have concerns on the back fence. After school was over, they remembered what their mother had said about playing until supper time. So they thought they would go into Jimmie Brown's garden, where the ground was soft and where they could play hide and seek and soldiers with Mr. Brown's big flag. They had quite forgotten about the bad dog by this time and were only thinking of play. The dog had been put there by Jimmy to frighten away little boys who come to take apples, but he thought it his duty to frighten away cats as well. Luckily, he was asleep in his kennel and didn't hear the kitten. Mouser, being the oldest, took the lead and they were soon poking about in search of fun. Suddenly, Mouser came to a closet near the house where Mrs. Brown kept her preserves. On the shelf stood a row of jams and jellies that made his mouth water to look at. He quickly got on a chair and poked about the jars, one of which he upset. At length he found some currant jam and began eating it greedily. Oh, what a state he was in, with jam smeared all over his face and cloth. But he smiled sweetly and said, That was very good. And he looked for more mischief. In the garden, He found a pot of red paint that Jimmie Brown's father has carelessly left standing by the fence. Mouser loved painting as much as he loved eating jam. He had at home a little box of paint that his big cousin Tom has given him for the Christmas. Mouser thought the fence would look better if it were red, so he painted as hard as he could, quite unmindful that there were any such things as dogs in the world. While most of the paint went on fence, quite a lot spattered on his clothes, but he didn't mind that. In the meantime, Pussy found a watering can in the garden. There was water in it, so she thought she would sprinkle some on the yellow sunflowers and see if they would not grow as tall as Jack Beanstalk. So she said she hoped they could grow up to the sky as she wanted to climb up and pick a star and see what made it shine so brightly and twinkle so merrily. Then she picked some catnip to take home to her mother, who was very fond of it and often made catnip sauce when they had pudding for dinner. Towser, who had found a big fat watermelon, thought it would be jolly to carry it home to his mamma, but just as he was about to try and roll it away, he heard a noise that frightened him very much. Wow, wow, wow was what he heard, and though it seemed far off at first, as he listened, it seemed to be coming nearer rapidly. Wow, wow, wow! What a terrible sound for a little kitten to hear. The dog had awakened and seeing the kittens at play, made a dash at them, barking with all his might and looking very savage. Dogs ought to know better than to frighten little kittens. Mouser and Pussy had heard the dreadful noise also, so they all scampered together as fast as they could to reach the hole in the fence through which they had come in. They were very much frightened, and Towser lost a boot, and Mouser tore a big hole on a bramble bush, while two little mice who were hidden in the grass clapped their hands, hoping that the big dog would catch the bad kittens. The kittens were in too great a hurry to run after the mice and only thought of getting away as quickly as possible from the dreadful dog who barked so fiercely. They finally reached the fence and crawling to run for home as fast as they could. The big dog could not get under the fence to chase them. He got his head caught between the boards, which served him right for being so unkind. But oh, how frightened the three little kittens were, and how they had spoiled their nice clothes. Their afternoon pleasure was all gone. The watermelon and the catnip were left behind in their hurry, and Pussy got her head all scratched on a nail in the fence. They were very much worried too as to what their mamma would say. Tabby Cat was very angry when her kittens come home. and she saw their terrible condition. You never saw nice little kitten look so dirty. Mouse's coat was all daubed with red paint and jam, so she took off his clothes and sent him to bed without any supper for being so naughty. Mouser was the oldest, she said, and out to show his brother and sister good example. Mouser felt very sorry and said as he stood by his bed, "Oh, I do so want to be a good kitten and mind my mamma." Then he crept into bed and was very sad indeed. It took Mama nearly an hour to clean the kitten's cloth. Then they sat down to a supper of mouse pie, which was really very fine. Mouser didn't get a bite, but he smelled the pie and sighed and said, "This is what comes of being naughty." At last he fell asleep and dreamed that he was in a big garden where all the flowers and fruits were mice, and there were no cruel dogs to bark and bite, and he was very happy. Next day his mother had forgiven him for she loved him in spite of his faults, and Mouser made up his mind never to get into trouble again.